Sunday afternoon at the Polo Grounds, May 11th, 1919. The grass is green, the sky is gray-blue over Coogan's Bluff, and 3,000 souls have shuffled through the turnstiles to watch a ball game that on paper looked routine. A makeup game rescheduled from 2 days earlier when the grounds were too wet to play. Nothing special. Just the Washington Senators visiting the New York Yankees on a quiet spring day. But some baseball, my friends. Baseball doesn't care about your plans. Baseball doesn't care what's on paper. Sometimes baseball decides, all on its own, to carve a Sunday afternoon into stone. On the mound for Washington stood the big train himself, Walter Perry Johnson, already a legend by 1919, already pushing 31 years old, already the most feared right arm in the American League, and opposite him a crafty veteran by the name of Jack Quinn, a spitballer with a rubber arm and a refusal to lose. Quinn was 35 that day, and he would still be pitching in the major leagues 15 years later. 15 years, think about that. What unfolded between these two men over the next 2 hours and 30 minutes was the kind of baseball that makes old men weep into their beer. We will at another date get into the whole spitballing and when the grandfather of spitballing. But today, 12 innings. 12. Walter Johnson allowed 2 hits, too. He walked 1 man. He struck out 9. And somewhere in the middle of that afternoon, he reeled off 28 consecutive outs. Jack Quinn gave up 10 hits, walked 4. The Nationals had men on base in nearly every inning. They had runners on second and third, with 1 out on the 4th, nothing. They had the bases loaded in the 6th, nothing. They had the bases loaded again in the 8th, nothing. Quinn picked Sam Rice clean off first base in the 12th inning to end a Washington threat. That's not pitching, folks. That's witchcraft in flannel. And here's where destiny gets that little crooked smile of hers, because batting leadoff for the New York Yankees that afternoon, playing right field, was a 24-year-old kid named George Halas. Yes, that George Halas, Papa Bear, the man who would just 1 year later help found the National Football League. The man who would coach the Bears for 40 seasons. The man whose name is stitched into the very fabric of American football. But on May 11th, 1919, George Halas went 0 for 5 against Walter Johnson. Struck out twice. He was a New York Yankee that spring, and by summer his hip was barking and his baseball career was sputtering, and the football field was already whispering his name. 12 games in pinstripes, 2 hits, a .091 batting average. That's the Yankee career of Papa Bear Halas. And on this Sunday in May, Walter Johnson sent him back to the dugout, hatless and humbled, 5 separate times. The Polo Grounds went quiet in the late innings. You could hear the vendors. You could hear the wind. Both pitchers walked off the mound after 12 frames with zeros stacked beside their names like soldiers' information. 12 innings, no runs, no decision. The umpires called it on account of nothing, really, probably darkness, on account of the fact that sometimes a thing is so perfect you just have to let it stand. Final score: Senators 0, Yankees 0. Both men got to their zeros differently. One with perfection through a 9-inning game, 28 outs in a row for Walter Johnson, and Quinn, by the seat of his pants, somehow surviving and giving up no runs, even though he had all those base runners. But that is why we keep score, folks. This is why we save box scores. Because on a forgotten Sunday in 1919, in a rescheduled makeup game in front of 3,000 fans, 2 pitchers refused to blink, and a future football titan went hitless trying. Some destinies are written in October, some are written in dynasties, and some, my friends, are written on a quiet May afternoon at the Polo Grounds, where a big train rolled over a Papa Bear, and not a single run crossed the plate. I'm Mr. Baseball. This has been Dates with Destiny, a Smell Baseball podcast.